when it comes to the NFL draft, like I said, it is 48 hours away. And when you look at the NFL draft, the Eagles, where they're sitting right now, they are going to have to make a specific decision. And that specific decision is to sit or move. And I know that that is not as simple as it sounds, but I'm going to make it that simple. Because for the Eagles, they can move out of the 10 spot and still get a really good football player. Now, it just depends on your perspective of that football player. For example, one of the reports from Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated was that there's a lot of speculation that two players are going to go way higher than people think. One of them is Paris Johnston, the offensive line from Ohio State. The other one is Devin Witherspoon, the cornerback from Illinois. I know that Witherspoon, there's a lot of speculation the Lions' interest in him. And right now, there's a lot of speculation the Cardinals may reach and go get Paris Johnston. And there's a lot of conjecture right now that the draft will not have two quarterbacks go 1-2. It might just be one. 2 would be Will Anderson. 3 would be Paris Johnston. And then 4, the Colts would get the quarterback, whoever's left over from number 1. And what all that means is for the Eagles, the 5th pick becomes the spot that you are likely going to have to trade up to get somebody. Now, I don't know what the Seahawks, if the Seahawks are married to the idea of drafting 5th overall, or if they would be open to trading down the 10th overall. But the reason why I bring this up is because when you look around the NFL, it's becoming very obvious that for the Eagles, they don't have to pick any particular player, despite the fact that there's a ton of conjecture and a ton of speculation that the Eagles could have interest in Bijan Robinson. It's no guarantee. I personally think, and you can read into this what you want, but I think that a lot of this hype around the Eagles and Robinson is not a literal interest by the Eagles, but I think it's because Jalen Hurts and Bijan Robinson both have the same agent, that being Nicole Lynn. Bijan Robinson told Dan Patrick on the Dan Patrick show previously that he only had 2 official visits. It was with the Bucks and it was with the Eagles. Now, we know for a fact that your official visit is no measure of where you're going to or not going to go in the draft. There are tons of stories about players not officially visiting a team's facility, not having an official workout with them before going in the draft. The Patriots are infamous for this. The Patriots are one of those teams that for years has drafted guys, and guys would say after the draft, I had no idea the Patriots were going to draft me. So there is a possibility that this is some charades by the Eagles, because maybe his agent, I told you guys this before, Nicole Lynn is Hurts and Robinson's agent. And I don't think it's a coincidence that after Robinson took his official visit with the Eagles, and after all these rumors have been hyping up Robinson, is he rising up the draft boards? Where is he going to go in the first round? Then Jalen Hurts got his contract done. I don't think it's a coincidence. It really feels like hey, I did you a favor, now do me a favor and get this contract done. Get your client to sign it so we can move on. I think that is part of what is really going on here with Robinson. But I do think that there is legitimate interest in Robinson as well, because even though he only had 2 visits, nobody's saying the Eagles have to stay at 10 and not trade down. Listen, you look at this draft and who is picking after the Eagles, right? You look at a team, the Jets and the Packers have already made a trade. Packers are more likely to trade up into the top 10 than to trade to 10. So I'm not necessarily going to sit here and assume that the Packers would be one of those teams willing to trade up. And I don't know if the Titans think they have to trade up with the Eagles to get there. For me, the teams to look at for a trade up situation is I'm going to start with the Patriots. I know it's not in their history, but they could certainly trade up because, well, they really need some talent, especially at the cornerback position. A team like Washington, we know the Eagles have made trades in division before. There's no reason why Washington couldn't trade up to get some offensive line help. A team like the Lions, maybe the team like the Lions think that, they can go get multiple players in the top 10 of the draft. Listen, Robinson visited a team like the Bucks. Why can't the Bucks trade up to get a quarterback? The Seahawks, after picking 5th overall, could trade up to get a quarterback. What if the Ravens call the Eagles and they draft a quarterback? A little spice for your life down there in Baltimore. So it's not like the Eagles can't trade back either. I'm not sold on the idea that the Eagles are staying at 10th overall. There's way too much chatter about their interest in Jalen Carter for me to believe that they're just going to stay in put at 10th overall. I would be willing to sacrifice the 10th overall pick and a 30th overall pick and a second round pick next year to get Jalen Carter for sure. To me, I think Jalen Carter is that good of a player. The Bears literally traded out of the first overall pick after the Jalen Carter news came out. The Bears realized we don't need a quarterback. Why don't we trade this pick to somebody who wants a quarterback? So they went the 9th overall. They made the deal with the Panthers. And as a result now, it's starting to look like you're going to have 2 quarterbacks in the top 4 picks. And Jalen Carter will not be one of those 4 picks. I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but I would be extremely excited because I think that Jalen Carter is the kind of guy who is a game changer. And if there's any concern about his maturity or mentorship, is there a better situation in the NFL than the Philadelphia Eagles for him? You got Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham already here. You got guys like Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey in that locker room. You have his former teammates, Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis, already in that locker room for the last year plus. And you got that Jalen Hurts guy, who's the captain, one of the captains of this team. Darius Slay, James Bradbury. It feels like it would be the perfect fit for a young man with tremendous upside and tremendous talent, but maybe has got some maturity issues that he has to work on. The Eagles might be the perfect organization for him in that case. Listen, I'm not saying I don't like the fact the Eagles are 10th overall, but what I am saying is I'm not sold on the idea that the Eagles are going to be using both of their first round picks. Now, I tongue in cheek made the comment previously to you guys that I would, if I was the Eagles, I would call the Cardinals and offer the 30th overall pick for Budda Baker. And maybe you still do that. Maybe there is a scenario where you do trade that 30th pick as well. But I'm not convinced the Eagles are keeping both those picks. As we get closer and closer to the draft, there is something to be said for the fact that Howie Roseman has a history of making trades. that Howie has a history of moving up and down in the draft. And I don't think it's any small point that this draft, and there's a lot of people who are saying this who are not me, Josh Hennig, hanging out with you on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. There's a lot of people who are saying this is not an elite talent draft. This is a good to very good talent draft. It's not a great or elite talent draft up and down the board. So if you don't get one of the handful of elite players in this draft, why stay at 10? Why not let somebody else move up and take your spot if you can get them to part with some picks? Look, if a team that needs a quarterback, and let's say only 2 quarterbacks are picked before the Eagles get the 10. Let's say both Richardson and Levis are on the board, and a team calls Howie Roseman and says, I'll give you my first-round pick this year, my first-round pick next year. I'm saying yes immediately. I'm not even waiting. That just makes too much sense. Now you get another first-round pick next year. You get more ammunition for another year. But that's only if one of the guys who you think is the elite talent in this draft is missing. As I said, I think Jalen Carter, I think he's that level of player. And it's not a diss to Bijan Robinson. I just don't think it's that important for you to take a running back in a year where you've lost so much on defense. To me, on defense, that's where the Eagles have to address at least the first couple rounds. All right, we'll get you guys thoughts and comments on the text board a little bit later this hour, 609-403-0973. That's the text board. Also, can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. But coming up next, NBA playoff conversation. Sixers facing the Celtics, we think. Could Jimmy Butler be in the 76ers future if they make a deep postseason run? All that and more next with Bryan Toporek from the NBA podcast with me, Josh Hennig, here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN.
It's the 2023 NFL Draft exclusively on 97.3 ESPN. The Philadelphia Eagles have 2 picks in the first round in this year's NFL Draft, and you can listen to see how it all plays out. Round 1 coverage begins this Thursday at 7 p.m. It's the 2023 NFL Draft, and it's only on South Jersey's exclusive radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football, 97.3 ESPN.
Your next BMW is closer than you think at BMW of Atlantic City. Take advantage of limited time offers on our entire lineup of new BMW models, like a new 2023 BMW X3 xDrive 30i lease for $599 a month for 36 months. Looking to trade? We'll pay top dollar for your vehicle. Visit BMW of Atlantic City, closer than you think, located in Egg Harbor Township and online at bmwatlanticcity.com. For more details, call us toll-free at 609-316-2393.
When you hear it's Spring Black Friday at the Home Depot and Ryobi 40-volt expanded cordless string trimmers are just $179, what are you driven to do? Clear out winter's overgrowth? Clean up the driveway lines? Or take a lighter touch around the flower beds? Hurry into the Home Depot during Spring Black Friday to get more done with the extended runtime and precision control of the Ryobi 40-volt expanded cordless string trimmer. Now just $179. Shop Spring Black Friday savings at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Progressive presents an ad from Mom.
What does it say here? Bundle your home and auto insurance with Progressive and get protection round the clock. You know what? I'm sorry. I think it should be around. What are you signaling? Me to stop talking? Oh, all right. I'll stop talking. No, just had to tell me. That's all you had.
Get round-the-clock protection when you bundle and save with Progressive. It's easier than getting your mom to make this radio ad. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Yes, we do have availability. Those dates for how many guests?
Andrea's Boutique Hotel is the destination to tie the knot.
Oh, you want the whole property.
She needs an assistant to catch the bookings bouquets.
249 guests, huh? Oh, and 3 dogs.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We can get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we can take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $79.99. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
In business, everything your employees do impacts your brand, including what they wear. Cintas has high-performance workplace apparel for almost every job imaginable. From work shirts and pants, to polos and khakis, to Oxfords or T-shirts, these clothes move, breathe, and look great. Your team gets the styles they like, you convey the image you want. And Cintas service includes weekly laundry and delivery. To learn more, visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
With GMF financing, qualified buyers excludes Corvette. Ever ask yourself why most people come to Bennett Chevrolet? It's simple. Bennett's selling new Chevys at true GM supplier employee prices. You pay what they pay, not a penny more. Plus, you keep all the rebates. Right now, that's up to $8,000. Now, some dealers are trying to do what we do. They may give you a discount, but then they try to keep some or all of the rebates. Nice try, but not really. Bennett gives you both the GM supplier employee price plus all the rebates. Right now, that's up to $8,000. And there's available 0% financing. Zero. Looking for used? Bennett will pay you a minimum $10,000 for any piece of you can drag to our lot towards any pre-owned in stock. That's at least $10,000. And we pay more, a lot more for good trades. And finally, our sales team is fantastic. Really, unlike other dealers. Come and BennettChevy.com.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Well, Jimmy Butler pretty much individually won a game for the Heat last night. Could the Heat be headed back to the Eastern Conference Finals? Does Boston get the job done tonight against a DeJounte Murray-less Hawks? And is Doc Rivers making Embiid's knee injury sound worse than it is? We'll get more into the NBA playoffs right now. Bryan Toporek, of course, covers the NBA. He's the co-host of the NBA podcast. Also, he's a NBA writer for Forbes Sports and Liberty Ballers. Joins right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Bryan, how are you doing after the Jimmy Butler monster game last night?
Not so well. Your boy over here has tweeted some reckless things about Jimmy Butler over the years, and Heat fans have found them. So it's been a long day for me.
Well, it's funny because, you know, a lot of people are falling back on the Sixers should have kept Butler. The Sixers, and I think the problem with that argument is the Sixers didn't replace Jimmy with Tobias, okay? They didn't. It was a look, they were not going to give him the max contract. And basically the Heat were willing to give him more than the Sixers were. And then they made a trade like that. That's really what happened. And at the end of the day, I don't think it's as simple as the Sixers didn't want Jimmy. I think the Sixers made an organizational decision. I didn't agree with the decision at the time. I didn't like the idea. I'm a Jimmy Butler guy biasly, but you know what? I can still understand what happened because at the end of the day, for as much as Jimmy Butler wants to scream, they picked Tobias Harris over me. The reality is that the Sixers organization, as JJ Redick explained on Mark Zumoff's podcast, he explained the organization chose to reformat the roster in a way to compete with Toronto and Boston and Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't choose Tobias over him because they could have kept both. There was nothing stopping them from keeping both players. The first thing I ever wrote at Forbes Sports was about why they should just run back the old team. And now seeing what Jimmy's doing 4 years later, especially leading the Heat to the finals, to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Yeah, I mean, it's clear that they should have some regrets about not doing more to retain Jimmy. If only, I mean, among the many other reasons, like his on-court fit and him being a 16-game player, clearly the top reasons he should do it. But like he was also really close with Joel Embiid. I mean, they are still very close, and you can tell that Jimmy has this reputation of this like no nonsense maniacal workhorse who in the bubble is like dribbling a basketball in his hotel room at 3 a.m. One of the reports. That's the type of player you want around young guys to set the tone, to set the culture. That's why they brought in someone like PJ Tucker this year, who Jimmy also loved last year. I forget the exact quote, but he said, like, I didn't know I could love anyone as much as I love PJ Tucker. And then, when PJ left, Jimmy was very upset. Like he was not happy with PJ or with Joel for that. So, I think the binary, I know Jimmy's famous with Tobias Harris over me. That wasn't it. I mean, by all reports, at least what Ramona Shelburne has reported, among others, it was really a choice between Jimmy Butler and Ben Simmons. And they chose Ben Simmons because he was younger, among other reasons. As we know now, that turned out to be the very wrong choice.
So how much danger are the Bucks in right now to Jimmy Butler and the aforementioned Heat?
Yeah, I think you have every reason to be concerned if you're a Bucks fan. Because, you could say, sure, Giannis missed games 2 and 3, and he was physically compromised at times in game 4, despite, going off for a 30-point triple-double almost. But, now all it takes is one game. That's what's so scary about the playoffs. It's like it's rare for a series to follow the same script every game. Like every game is its own thing. So, the Heat got the Jimmy Butler game in last night. The Heat got the outlier shooting game in game 1. The Heat got the Giannis was hurt game in game 3. So now do they get a Bam Adebayo, a big Bam Adebayo game? Did he get a big Kyle Lowry game? Does Max Strus or Gabe Vincent or Caleb Martin or Duncan Robinson, like, does he get hot and hit 6 threes? All you need is just one outlier performance to win one game, and then you move on in the series. The Bucks are the better team. The Bucks have, it's very.
We lost Bryan there for just a moment. We'll try to
move on. Like all of that.
What happened to him there? I'm just going to replug him back into the stream. Bryan, we lost you mid train of thought. You hear me now?
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
Wasn't sure if it was your side or my side. I never know with these things. So.
Yeah. Well, all I was saying was, I mean, I think the Bucks are in real danger. They could still come back and win this thing in 7, but all it takes is one hot performance from a role player and it's lights out for them.
If the Heat were to get past the Bucks, how do you recalibrate the Eastern Conference? Because most people, like myself, I will admit it, I thought the Bucks were going to the NBA Finals. I picked them to go. I had Sixers, Bucks, Eastern Conference, and the Bucks winning. Well, now if the Bucks lose in the first round, people like me are going to just be like, well, now what?
Yeah, I mean, you could argue Sixers Celtics is the de facto Eastern Conference Finals. I think whichever team, again, assuming health, which is no safe assumption in these playoffs in particular, but if whichever team wins that series emerges relatively unscathed, I think they'll be the clear favorite over Heat, or, I think the Knicks are also in very good position to move on to the second round. So I would take the Celtics over either of those teams. I would take a healthy Sixers team over either of those teams. With the Sixers, we'll just obviously have to wait and see because they've got a pretty big notable injury of their own.
I have a theory about that I wanted to share with you. Okay. My theory is I think the Sixers are completely manipulating everybody right now. I think that this whole thing with Embiid and his knee is gamesmanship, and they're going to keep saying that he could play game one up to an hour before tip, and they're planning all along to not play him game one, and basically say, all right, let's see what Boston offers us as like a chessmanship move for game one, and then our adjustment is game two. Here comes Joel Embiid.
I mean, I don't know if they're doing it in terms of gamesmanship. I think it's just, it sounds like it's a 1 to 2 week injury. They just need to see how his body recovers over the next couple days. They need to see, if they can fit. Like, it sounds like he's going to be wearing a brace in the second round. So how he's moving while wearing that brace, how he feels health-wise, if he's comfortable. The last thing you want to do is increase the risk of a more severe injury. Like, God forbid he goes from, based on the timeline, it sounds like this is a grade 1 LCL sprain. You do not want it to advance to a grade 2 or even worse, a grade 3, a full tear. He's out for multiple months. Like that's the worst case scenario here. So, I think Jeff Stotts of In Street Clothes, as a NBA injury expert, has a database of going back years of all sorts of different injuries. He had a good write-up about Embiid's thing today. It says the LCL sprain on his own is pretty uncommon, and even the guys who have had it had unique circumstances. So his take was that it's he wouldn't be surprised if Embiid does not play early in this series. But then you've got, like, I know Shams, Ramona, Adrian Wojnarowski have all said, like, it's a 1 to 2 week injury, so he very well could be playing in game one. We're not going to know until later this week.
When you look at the game tonight with the Celtics, have we learned anything from the Celtics-Hawks series? Or is it just, what we all, as Denny Green once said, they are who we thought they were?
Yeah, I think they are who we thought they were. And, I think if anything, you watch what they've been able to do to Trae Young and you worry about what they're going to do to Maxey and Harden defensively, which is the concern you would have had coming in the playoffs as well. But seeing, Marcus Smart, Derek White, like, Trae Young is still getting his, but he's not getting his efficiently. And he's had some really boneheaded turnovers. They're attacking him defensively. Like, I think a lot of what the Sixers should expect the Celtics to do has been on full display against the Hawks in that regard. Obviously, the Hawks do not have a big man like Joel Embiid, with all due respect to Clint Capella. So they've been able to play him more straight up. I think we'll see kind of a combination of what the Nets did, where they're sending doubles, possibly even at the catch, or they're sending late help against Embiid. I think they'll also probably try their hand at just having Horford guard him one-on-one, staying glued to the rest of the perimeter guys and saying, like, look, if Joel Embiid, we saw what he did, in early April. If he's going to get 50 points on, 80% shooting on a bum knee, cool, we'll live with that. But we're going to make sure James Harden doesn't also get going. We're going to make sure Maxey doesn't get going. Tobias Harris, Melton, even PJ Tucker knocking down a couple triples. Like, we're going to stay glued to those guys.
Of course, if the Celtics win tonight, the expectation the Sixers-Celtics game one will be this Saturday. If the Celtics don't win tonight, the game one will be on Monday. Of course, you can hear all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN. Bryan, let's kind of whip around the rest of the NBA playoffs here, because at the end of the day, we're all going to be talking to them. We're blue in the face till these teams actually play each other, whether it's Saturday or Monday. But a couple other things around the NBA I'm very curious about. One of them is, sticking in the Eastern Conference, how have the Knicks done what they're doing? Because I felt like everyone who I trust as a basketball person, right? They all were like, this Cavs team is really good. They're so talented. And I was like, I guess the Cavs will win in 7 games. Like, that was my working theory, right? Mm-hmm. Never did I think the Knicks would be up in this Cavs series so definitively. Like, and they did it without Julius Randle being healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the problem for the Cavs is that Mitchell Robinson is out playing Jared Allen and Evan Mobley to an extent, and Jalen Brunson is playing Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland to a standstill. If not, he's the best guard in the series. And Cleveland has spent all of its resources on its backcourt and its front court, and has a glaring hole at the three, which has also been a problem in this series because they're still trying to search for solutions, whether it's Chetty Osman, Karis LeVert, Danny Green, they dusted off. They're just trying to find a 5-man lineup that works well together. They found it in game 2, and that was their best game of the season, but have been struggling to find that ever since. But they need more from the guys they're either paying a ton to, in the case of Mitchell and Garland, or in Evan Mobley. This is the guy that they've anointed as like he is the future of our franchise, not necessarily Darius Garland, not Donovan Mitchell. Like, this guy has the potential to be our best player. Right now, it's more potential than reality, and we've seen a lot throughout these playoffs, the importance of rebounding, and especially offensive rebounding. Mitchell Robinson is just boxing out well. He's just like playing fundamentally sound basketball and is generating extra possessions with offensive rebounds. He is just out toughing, as corny as that sounds. He is out toughing the Cavs bigs. So until they fix that, which I expect they will in game 5, because it's now or never, I think that's helped the Knicks jump out to this lead that I also didn't expect. I thought this was, of any series in the first round, I thought this was the most likely to go 7. Very well still might, but right now I don't feel good about that.
Yeah, the Cavs look like they just don't have much left in the tank at this point. I mean, and no offense to Mitchell, I like Donovan Mitchell, the player, but man, him yelling at his teammates in those huddles that's been caught on camera, that's really awkward looking. Like the whole thing looks really, really uncomfortable. By the way, if we do get Knicks Heat in the next round, can we just move all the games to NBC and get Round Ball Rock back and get Bob Costas to call the games, and all that whole crew to come back. I mean, Hannah Storm's still on TV. She can just move over to NBC for a week, right?
That's right. And for anyone who says they miss 90s basketball, here you go. First to 100 wins in every game that series.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be, both teams are going to commit about 20 fouls each game. Jimmy Butler is going to fight somebody at some point in the series. Bam Adebayo is going to get knocked to the ground by Mitchell Robinson in a game. He's going to fight Mitchell Robinson. I mean, I already know what's going to happen in this series. I just want to see it.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why they're gearing up with all these flagrant 2 fouls. They're just like trying to teach the refs ahead of the next game. Like what actually rises to the level of an ejection and a suspension. Like let's get our bearings now.
You know what they should really do? They should tell the refs not to even show up for that.
Just playground rules, call your own fouls.
Playground rules, call your own fouls, and the person who does the reviews, it can be Pat Riley and Jeff Van Gundy. They can review all the calls.
Yeah, Pat Riley's a little biased. We did like a neutral.
Well, so is Van Gundy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, Van Gundy, remember the time he said on the television broadcast, he said he still is angry at the Heat for knocking them out that one year in the playoffs. Because remember that was a series that he got around to the court and got in a fight.
Oh yeah.
And he was with Bryan and Mark Jackson. It was like last year's playoffs. He's like, I'm still mad at the Heat for knocking me out of the postseason.
You're not an elite athlete or coach or anyone in the NBA if you don't hold grudges for 20 years.
That's true. Or in some organizations' cases, 40 years, for goodness sake.
Right.
Speaking of grudges, or shall we say stupid grudges, I got to admit, I used to be a Grizzlies guy. Now I'm a Grizzlies hater. Like, I'm so over the Grizzlies. I was so happy for the Lakers to win last night. Like, I want to punch Dylan Brooks in the face. Like, I'm so tired of this guy. I mean, this guy literally is getting up and saying the media is turning me out to be a villain. The fans just don't like me. It's like, no, dude, you are setting yourself up for no one to like you. And when LeBron went left on him and went to the basket in that game, it was just like, see, Dylan Brooks, you're the idiot.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for characters like Dylan Brooks and Draymond Green, Lord knows Joel Embiid over the years has been a troll. So, I think it'd be hypocritical of all of us to say like we want to get rid of that. However, if you're going to talk the talk, you either need to back it up and walk the walk, or if you don't, and it backfires in the case that it has with Dylan Brooks, you got to own up to it. Like it's just such a bad look. He has skipped media availability in each of the past 2 games, which is, first of all, required by the NBA's collective bargaining agreement. So I'm guessing it's going to get a nice letter in the mail from the NBA requesting a donation to charity for that. But also, I mean, it just like, it makes you look like a front runner. It's just, I don't know. I'm with you in, the Grizzlies should be one of the most like young, fun, up and coming teams. I mean, John Morant, Lord knows there's some off court stuff that, you have to wrestle with.
Sure.
But on the court, like, I mean, instant league pass alert. Like this guy is going to try to dunk on everyone's head with some of the most electric, high flying in-game dunks you've seen since like Vince Carter. But man, it's just the combination of, Dylan Brooks, like trying to make himself the victim here when, as you said, like no one's doing this. It's the hot dog meme, right? Like we're all looking for the guy who did this. We know who did it. It's the guy who called LeBron James old after game 2. Like what did you expect to have happen, Dylan?
Oh my goodness. So I'm going to ask you the question I asked about the Heat. If the Lakers make it to the next round, what does that mean for the Western Conference?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a similar story where whichever team, I'm assuming it's going to be Denver Suns in the next round. They're both up 3-1. Kawhi is not going to play game 5. So I think the Clippers are unfortunately toast. The Timberwolves won game 4. I don't think they're winning 3 straight games. So Denver Suns, I'm ready to lock that one in. I think, again, assuming health, the winner of that will be favored over whoever comes out of Lakers and then either the Kings or the Warriors. With that said, I mean, we knew going into, or we thought we knew at least, going into the East, it was going to be relatively chalky. Obviously, injuries played a part in that with Miami and Milwaukee in particular. But, Boston's cruising, Philly cruise. The West, we had a feeling like this was going to be a lot more up in the air, with the state of Memphis, no Steven Adams, no Brandon Clark, going against Anthony Davis was going to be a challenge. Going against LeBron James was going to be a challenge. You need as much size inside as you possibly can get against those two guys that Memphis doesn't have. So, I mean, there are a lot of people going into the playoffs that picked the Lakers over Memphis. A lot of people were making fun of the people who did that, saying like, look at the Lakers, they're a 7 seed, like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I've been saying it since the trade deadline that like you have to throw out record, you have to throw out seed with regards to the Lakers. None of that matters. They're a completely different team than they were prior to the trade deadline because they remade half of their roster. I mean,
right.
They like legitimately did not have 10 rotation caliber players in their roster.
Bryan, they literally won the trade deadline.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. Like they should, if they go on to win a ring this year, they should give one to Danny Ainge. Like that is how much. I still don't really understand why Danny Ainge did that and only got 1 first-round pick in return. Like, from a Sixers perspective, like you think about Tobias Harris's future with the team, and I keep thinking like, all right, expiring contract, huge expiring contract. If they shop him this summer, what can they get for him? I'm thinking like probably bad contracts in return, or like they'll have to give up a pick to get something good. Now I look at this Russell Westbrook trade. I'm like, well, just call up Danny Ainge. You can get 3 rotation players.
I don't know. Maybe Rob Pelinka's got dirt on Danny.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, there's some compromat type situation here.
Yeah, there's something weird going on there. What do we do with this Warriors King series? I mean, this is going to go 7 games. We just got to let it ride at this point. Because I mean, if you look ahead to the NBA schedule, Kings, Golden State, if we get to a game 7, that is Sunday. I think it's fair to say that the only other series we have any hope for going 7 games is all the Bucks fans are hoping that the Heat series goes 7 games. Like, could we really be having the only NBA game in the first round still going on Sunday? Everybody else is in the second round. Is Kings Warriors?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be funny if we have game 1 of the second round between Celtics Sixers before game 7 of Kings Warriors, which is very much.
Hold on. So, like, do you think the NBA would be like Sixers Celtics 3:30, Warriors Kings 8:30 kind of thing?
Well, I guess Sixers Celtics would be Saturday, so I guess we'll have to see if the other series is even locked in. But yeah, it wouldn't shock me if they ended up doing something like that. I know there's a lot of like kerfuffle about the NBA schedule right now because they have 4 games tomorrow and not a ton of great games tonight. But like, you can't, the NBA sets this early in the first round. Like, you can't know which.
It's not the NBA's fault that Kawhi would have a knee problem again. Like,
right?
I mean, it's not the NBA's
which series are gonna.
It's not the NBA's fault that DeJounte Murray decided to chest bump the shoulder of the ref at the end of the game. Like, why are we blaming the NBA for this?
Right. Like, they did not preordain, or maybe they did. I know there's the theory with the NFL script. Maybe there's an NBA script too, and they did preordain what's going on here. But assuming
really quick, of all the 4 sports, if there was one that we could prove that there was a script and it was believable, which would it be?
Ooh, man. I'm going to say the NFL just because too many guys are in on it. Too many guys have said it's a thing. But I guess there's so many roster spots, though. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's way too much. That's See,
maybe.
to me, if you had to ask me if there was a script, I'd say it's hockey. Because how on earth have the Toronto Maple Leafs not even made the Stanley Cup Finals since like 1967? Like, if there was an NBA team that went that long, that would be like saying that the Boston Celtics didn't make the NBA Finals for like 50 years. Like, that. What other sport is there a team that goes that long between at least making it to the championship game?
We created a sport that Canadians love, and the script was let's torture them by never letting the Canadian fans win. I buy it. You might be right there.
I gotta let you go. Bryan Toporek, he's the host of the NBA podcast. Follow him on Twitter at @Toporek. Check out all of his coverage of the NBA with Forbes Sports, and of course Sixers with Liberty Ballers. Bryan, great stuff today. I appreciate it.
Anytime, Josh. Take care.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Dan and EHC, Jeff in Ocean City, and more. I'll get your guys' messages coming up next on 97.3 ESPN.
Tomorrow on ESPN Radio. After the Kings win games 1 and 2 at home, the Warriors respond by taking games 3 and 4 in San Francisco.
Bars for the win, missed the shot. Golden State takes game 4.
Now we return to Sacramento for a critical game 5.
We're going home, and we got to take care of business there.
Game 5 of the Kings and Warriors. Coverage begins tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
Listen to the NBA playoffs exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Tired of overpaying? Get to Matt Blatt Nissan and get $7,500 off any new Nissan Ariya, Armada, or Titan. Or pay 0% APR with 0 down on every new Nissan Rogue or Ultima in stock.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Are you stuck in a loan or lease? AJ the Trade Man wants to get you released, so you can drive home in any new Nissan, Ultima, or Rogue with 0 down and 0 interest, or take $7,500 off MSRP on every new Nissan Ariya, Armada SUV, or Titan truck. And only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Have a job clearing $350 per week? We want to approve you today. And AJ wants your trade. MattBlattNissan.com. Rate qualifications exist with approved credit. $27.78 per thousand finance line. In stock 2023 Rogues. Pathfinder Ultima. Not all will qualify. Go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details or call 844-917-4758. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Stock $589. Sale price $31,774. Expires 4/30/23. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Shop Spring Black Friday savings at the Home Depot to get your kitchen clicking. With top brand appliances from Frigidaire, like a new refrigerator with sealed crisper drawers to keep your produce fresher longer. Or a dishwasher with its unique blade spray arm for better water coverage that reaches every corner. Plus, with convenient shopping in-store and online at the Home Depot, your innovative new appliances are just a click away, too. Save up to $500 on select Frigidaire kitchen appliances during Spring Black Friday at the Home Depot.
I can't wait for what's next, even with higher stroke risk due to atrial fibrillation, irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Eliquis, the Fixaban tablets, reduces stroke risk. It's the #1 cardiologist-prescribed blood thinner.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without talking to your doctor, as this may increase your risk of stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and, in rare cases, fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or have antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or unusual bruising, or if you have tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. It may increase your bleeding risk if you take medicines such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. You're driving along and some nimrod cuts you off. You hit the horn. Jeez, it sounds like a goose in distress. Time to head over to eBay Motors. They have horns for every make and model, not to mention horn pads, steering wheels, wiring, and more. 122 million parts. You can even go for an upgrade. It looks like Mr. Cutoff Man needs a new seat cover. Try eBay Motors, pal. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Here's how we long for Skechers hands-free slip-in footwear.
The world has gone hands-free. However, if you want to put on a pair of sneakers, you still need to bend down and help your feet in. Until now. Introducing Skechers hands-free slip-in footwear. You don't need to reach down to help your heel in. You just step into them and off you go. So what's the secret? Well, there's a special smooth comfort pillow in the heel that helps your foot slide into place. And they stay on just like a pair of laced-up sneakers.
Get hands-free slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
In business, everything your employees do impacts your brand, including what they wear. Cintas has high-performance workplace apparel for almost every job imaginable. From work shirts and pants, to polos and khakis, to Oxfords or T-shirts, these clothes move, breathe, and look great. Your team gets the styles they like, you convey the image you want. And Cintas service includes weekly laundry and delivery. To learn more, visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
We can't keep snake plants in stock.
She needs a construction manager to build on her roots and grow.
We could add a whole section for ferns. Here we'd have dahlias, dahlias, and more dahlias.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be signs that your digestive system isn't working at its best? But taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil supports your daily digestive health using a special plant-based fiber called psyllium. Psyllium works by forming a gel in your digestive system to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Metamucil's gelling action also helps to promote heart health and slows down sugar absorption to promote healthy blood sugar levels. Start feeling lighter and more energetic by taking Metamucil every day.
At the United States Postal Service, we're reinventing our network to help keep your business moving. With new shipping options to deliver better value, greater flexibility to conveniently reach your customers, more confident shipping with new informed delivery features, and new electric vehicles for a cleaner, brighter future. Fast, reliable, perfectly orchestrated. The United States Postal Service, delivering for America. Learn more at USPS.com/moving forward.
Time to tee it up at the 40th Annual Ranch Hope Wranglers Golf Tournament, Friday, June 2nd at Saturday Golf Club, presented by Woodruff Energy. Proceeds will benefit Ranch Hope's youth activities. Ranch Hope is entering its 59th year serving the youth and families of New Jersey. The tournament is made possible by Comtech Systems, PSEG Nuclear, Mannington Flooring, Atlantic City Electric, First National Bank of Elmer, SJ Water Conditioning, Heritage Dairy Stores, RCL Solar, Foster Carney Foundation, and Pennsville Bank. Let's tee it up for Ranch Hope. Sponsor and player registrations at ranchhope.org.
Free mobile app.
As we like to do each game night here, the Power Hour on 97.3 ESPN. Game night is on 97.3 ESPN. We call it a Power Hour because we hang out with you for an hour each night after Mike Dillon's Sports Bash. I like to get what you guys have to say each day. Of course, you can join the conversation by DMing the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. Seattle text board 609-403-0973. Jeff in Ocean City chimes in and says, Josh, I hear what you're saying, but when will the Eagles get a top 10 pick in the near future? I like to say at 10 or drop only back a few spots from going to trade for Carter. How about 10-30 and a 2024 second round pick? I mean, look, I don't think that if you called, all right, just to use an example, okay? The Seahawks already have 2 first-round picks. The Lions already have 2 first-round picks. They are both in that range ahead of the Raiders and the Bears and the Falcons. If you called the Seahawks to offer them 10-30 and a second rounder next year, I don't think they're going to, I mean, this is the movie Draft Day, when you're, Sonny Weaver's having demand for all of his picks back, right? I don't think a rational NFL team would certainly be against that. Steven Mettner chimes in and says, Josh, Howie is right where he wants to be, sitting in 10 in front of the 3 needed quarterback teams, Tennessee, Houston, and Washington. I hope Houston takes Will Anderson second overall, and then 1 or 2 of those quarterbacks fall, and then Howie can work his magic. Here's the thing with Washington. I'm not convinced they get a quarterback. I think that Washington, they're a little bit too much in love with Sam Howell, for my personal taste. To me, the fact that they didn't pursue Lamar Jackson means that they're committed to the idea of Sam Howell moving forward. But you're right about, look, if Houston doesn't take Stroud or Young at second overall, they're going to want a quarterback later in the draft. And so the Eagles are definitely a prime spot for them, especially during Tennessee behind them. I think Houston is the most likely trade candidate because they're an organization that desperately needs to hit a reset button. I don't know what the Titans want. We've never seen Carthon be an executive before. He doesn't have a lot of history you can feed off of. You don't know, was the Trey Lance deal in San Francisco his idea? Was it not his idea? You don't know how he feels about quarterbacks yet. So we'll start learning what Carthon wants. I think Houston is a very big candidate to trade up with the Eagles and to well quarterback drops through them. Finally, Dan and EHP says, let's not kid ourselves. Embiid is not going to be 100% throughout the playoffs again. Embiid can't handle the physicality of the playoffs. Bottom line, fans. That's from Dan and EHP. I don't think it's as much about he can't handle the physicality. I think the problem is that there's 2 problems. One, I just don't know if Embiid is built to handle the rigors of an NBA season. I just get the sense that he's the kind of person who his physical build is just prone to injury. I think some people are just genetically disposed to get injured maybe a little bit more often than other people. You have that person who never gets sick, the person who always does get sick. Sometimes it's genetics. So I don't know if it's the physicality of the playoffs. I think that, though, it doesn't help that when Embiid's getting shoved in the back by Nick Claxton and no one sticks up for him, it's more of a problem. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Catch you tomorrow.
Hey guys, it's Mike Gill from the Sports Bash. Stop on out this Saturday from 11:30 to 12:30. I'll be sampling Redemption Whiskey and White Claw Vodka at Joe Canals on Fire Road in EHT. I'll have 2 pair of tickets to the Bamboozle Festival at Bader Field next weekend show. That's this Saturday from 11:30 to 12:30. I'll be over at Joe Canals, Fire Road in Egg Harbor Township. That's this Saturday, 11:30 to 12:30, Joe Canals, Fire Road, EHT.